hop on. I look like a crazy lady because I am manifesting health, but I am surviving on medicine right now. Like, so I'm just going to let you guys know my voice is progressively probably going to get worse through this. I might have the sniffles, but we here, baby. So let this be confirmation for you that even if your body is trying to tap out, you are showing up. You're going to show up. Now, one thing I want to say is in my sick state yesterday, I think I forgot to hit record on the live stream from the actual live stream. So I have uploaded the TikTok video. I did hit record today. I was on the I was on the phone with tech support right before this. So I'm gonna hopefully be able to upload the video that you guys are looking at right now, the better quality one, not the TikTok one. But worst case scenario, we'll just keep the TikTok one up if I can't get that. I just want to let you know if you watch the replay and you're like, why is she not looking at us? Because if you're watching me on TikTok, just know that this is a free event that you can join. If you want to be in the chat, if you want to be able to answer me questions, ask me questions and have me answer you, then just click the link in my bio and join the free event. This is a free 5-day event called Glow the Fuck Up. And we are teaching you how to glow up. Like, I'm teaching you how to glow up. Let me know, how are you feeling from yesterday? How did the mindset work go? I really love that yesterday, if you noticed, it was more of thought work. That's what I really see it as, is when we're paying attention and we're becoming conscious of the thoughts that we're thinking, we're able to really shift how we're thinking and how we're feeling in the moment because we're focusing on the thoughts. And if you were here yesterday, if not, you hopefully set the declaration to yourself to watch it and did the homework. If you're here, I'm trusting that you are caught up because we're not falling behind. We're building momentum. And like I told you yesterday, every day is compounding on the next day. So it's very important that you show up daily and that you keep doing the work because every day we are adding on. So yesterday was the thought work. We are focusing on your mindset. We are focusing on shifting your thoughts. I gave you a 5-step process that allows you to really shift your limiting beliefs in the moment. I also gave you a way through the homework to learn how to reframe how you're understanding thoughts become reality. And that helps you to, if there's something that's more deeply rooted, for you to really be able to do the mindset work without getting lost in like your entire history and all of the events that happen. So if you haven't yet joined the event, or if you just got your ticket and you're wondering where the replays are, where the homework is, just make sure to click the link in my bio. Or if you did sign up for the event, click the link in the email and you'll have access to all of the replays and everything until 1/1. And then tomorrow we'll be doing grounding. The next day we'll be doing manifesting. And on the 5th day, we'll be doing self-concept. So you're going to see how this all builds together. And when we start focusing on these things, they apply to every area in our life. So even if you are really wanting to glow up love, this is going to be applicable for you. You can follow these steps. If you want to glow up your money, then that's going to work. If you want to glow up your confidence, like in every area, this is applicable. And if you are here for the 5 days, you know it's going to run about an hour each day. So make sure you're showing up. Like, make sure you're dropping in the comments, make sure you're showing up live. You can ask me questions, and then you'll have access to this until 1/1. And then after that, this will live in my membership, AOMU. And if you were here yesterday, you saw that I'm giving you guys a discount code to join AOMU. And if you join monthly, it's literally $33 this month. So it's a fucking steal. You get access to all of my programs, including lifetime access. Well, for the year, you'll get access to this. And then you will also get access to a community, and you'll be able to get on a group monthly coaching call with me. So if you join during this week, you can take advantage of these coupon codes. There's 3 of them because there's 3 ways to join. You can either join monthly, you can join yearly, or you can join lifetime access. So depending on which one works best for you. But the codes are in the email and it's also in the program. So if you get off the call and you're like, I'm ready to build momentum and to do this for a year, just join, and then you will get access to this month's group coaching call. Well, it's going to be in January, but if you join now, you'll get access to the January call. And so we go deep in my world. We're just going to hit the ground running. So today we are building on what we talked about yesterday. Let me just see. How are you guys feeling? I just realized I don't have the chat open. Be patient with me today in my sickness. I did not take that toy away from Gaia, and I might have to. We're going to manifest that she is just going to lay down and be good. She was so good yesterday. If you guys know, if you're in my private world, you know that puppy over there likes to be seen and heard during all of my live coaching calls, live events. So I manifested the fuck out of her behaving so well yesterday. We're going to manifest that with me because I might need some help. All right. Hello. So excited for day 2. Bless you, babe. Manifesting health on this end of the spectrum. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Seeing it as a gift from the divine to slow down and chill while learning to glow the fuck up. Yes. And here's the thing, you guys. One thing that I talked about like briefly yesterday was the fact that, did I talk about it yesterday? It wasn't on my coaching call. Oh, just bear with my sick little mind. But if I didn't talk about it yesterday, let's just talk about it quickly. One thing that ends up happening a lot is when you're doing this personal growth work, when you're ascending, when you are really like getting out of your comfort zone, when you are building a lot of momentum, when you're carrying a higher frequency energy, one thing that ends up happening is your physical body can get ill. Now, this could be from psychic attacks. This could be from your ego because it doesn't want you to change. This could be just because you're carrying such high energies. So there's a lot of reasons why, but I want you to know that there's a way that you can slow down and show the fuck up for yourself. I don't want you to use like, well, I'm sick and I can't do anything. I'll be honest with you. Yesterday, did I show up live, get everything done for this program, and then spend the majority of the day like on the couch with the dogs and drinking tea? I really wasn't able to do much yesterday, but I did show up for you guys. I didn't postpone this because like we're building the momentum. The holidays are next week, so there's no time. Like we're showing up. So let this be an example. I always love to model for my clients and my students that don't let the excuses stop you. You might have to learn to show up a little differently. You might have to learn to take care of yourself a little more, but you can still show up. You can still be high vibe. And this is beautiful for today because we're going to be talking about emotions today. And we started talking about that yesterday. And you guys see, like if you were here yesterday, if you weren't here yesterday, if you're just catching me on TikTok or if you're catching me on YouTube, then just know that you can click the link in my bio. This is a free 5-day event. You can sign up at the link in my bio. You'll have access to the replay, which was an hour and a half long yesterday. You'll have access to the homework, and you will get access to all of the additional 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I can't count, but we're going until Friday. There's 5 days. You'll get access to all the replays. You'll get access to all the homework. If you join live, you can join us on the chat and I'll be answering your questions. So if you're just catching me, because I just looked and there's like a bunch of you over here. So welcome, welcome, welcome. If you didn't make it yesterday, you didn't miss anything, you can just hop on, but just know that we're compounding. So the first step and the first day was on the mindset and the thought work. And it gave you a 5-step process to really shift quickly and to shift your thoughts in the moment. And then today, a lot of questions yesterday came up with the emotions, but it was like we're zooming in on the thoughts, and then we're going to zoom in today on the emotions because Gaia, we're manifesting that you're being good. Everyone's manifesting that you're being good, and this is not exactly good. Young lady, I'm going to need you to stop. So today, we're really going to be zooming in on the emotions, and then you'll see that once we've gotten to day 5, we've zoomed in on all of these areas to help you shift your life. And then when we get to day 5, you're going to see how we've been building this compound effect where every day, because we've zoomed in on one area, and I didn't just give you the context, I gave you the tools to shift quickly. Young lady, un momento. Okay, thank you much. Can I have you behave? Please. So I gave you the context and then I gave you tangible tools. Yesterday was a 5-step process. If you were here yesterday, you guys were like, oh my God, this is so simple, right? And emotional intelligence work and the emotional work is something that a lot of people also struggle with. But guess what? I've also got a process. I did not count how many steps, but I want to say it's like maybe 7 steps. So today, but it's like a yes and no question like yesterday, right? So it's like we're just pivoting. But today I'm going to give you a process that's going to be quick. So I want you to drop below is emotional intelligence work is like really aligning with the frequency of your desire, is living in the wish fulfilled. Is this something that you've been trying to do, but you feel like you're trying to do it and you haven't been successful? Raise your hand if you feel like the emotional work is something that you've been really struggling with. Gaia, Go. You gonna get locked out. You going in timeout, homie. All right. This is your last call. If you walk back over there, young lady. If you walk back over there. Welcome to what is normally my world when we're live and just deal with my puppy. All right. Go. Come on. Come here. Use this as an opportunity to join the live program. If you have not, I'm going to put the puppy in timeout. Yes, your sister's being bold. She's being bold. All right. So let's see. Yes. Let me catch up. So, I listened to the replay while doing PT exercises, so I didn't even notice how it looked. Oh my God, I love that. But it was even better the second time. That's amazing. And that's one thing that I encourage you to do. Listen to these, like be actively here if possible while we're live. But if you can't be here live, like we're meeting at 1 p.m. EST every day this week or 11 a.m. PST. If you can't be here live, that's totally fine, but I want you to set an intention right now. I said this in the email, but if you're new here, I want you to set an intention right now that you're going to be here, whether it's live or you're going to watch the replay, but you're going to watch it, you're going to listen, you're really going to let it integrate in your mind. I don't want you sitting here taking a bunch of notes. I want you to take notes if something comes up for you that you want to like look at later, but I want you to be like actually paying attention. And then later you can replay it and you'll get something new out of it. It's going to land differently just because you're going to know where we're going, right? Like you've already watched it once. So then the second time you're going to be like, oh, and you're going to have these aha moments that are going to be like, oh my God, this was so fucking good. And this is why this is called Glow the Fuck Up. Because in my world, I don't play in time. We play in energetics. I teach you what you need to know. I give you a different perspective. And then I'm like, all right, now let's do this. And as you guys can see, we do it and we do it quickly. And if you have questions, ask a question because somebody else has that question too. And I'll be really diving into questions at the end. But if you have any questions coming up, feel free to drop them because that's what this is about. Like if you've got questions about the glow up, let's glow the fuck up. Let's not hold ourselves back. Let's ask because somebody else has the question too. Hi, Alexa. Hi, Brianna. Putting too much pressure on myself in that area. I struggle with boundaries, how to set them, if I should be setting them. That's so funny. Welcome to my world, Brianna, because, oh, there's two Briannas. That's amazing. Because I literally, even, you can ask Sid, we just had on our last coaching call, we just talked about boundaries. And I say in AOMU how I was going to create a boundaries program because I am the queen at boundaries because I came from a woman in a family that had no boundaries, still have no boundaries. And so I went from having no boundaries to having solid boundaries. So you are going to learn just by witnessing and being in my world how to have boundaries, how to implement boundaries. Like that's my fucking jam. And while I might not always directly talk about it, you're going to see through the work that I give you and through what I teach you and the tools that I give you, you will be setting boundaries for yourself, whether you're actively using that term or not. So you are in the right place. You are in the right place. Literally the queen. She has the boundaries within everything she teaches. Thank you, Sid, for saying that. And it's literally like boundaries is, I got you on the boundaries front. We're going to be good at that. So putting a lot of, I see, like I resonate with putting a lot of pressure there when it comes to the emotional intelligence work. So I told you that each day was going to be one topic. So today's emotions. And then the question is, because we're tackling a question every day, how are you feeling daily? So we're going to stay still in the day, in the moment, because when are we manifesting from? We're manifesting from this moment right here, right? So understand that just like yesterday, where we talked very, very deeply about mindset and doing the thought work, we were zoomed in. But the thought work and the emotional intelligence work, they compound together, right? So it's like, I want you to understand that we're going to be starting with the thought work and then we're adding the emotional intelligence work on there. And each day we're adding. So we're never forgetting the information that we learned the day before. We're just learning to add to it, right? So that's why it's very important you're doing the homework daily and you're watching these every day. So that way you're building this momentum. So what I need you to understand with emotions is that emotions, I'm sure you've heard, they're energy in motion, right? And so your energetic state, your emotional state is really the point of attraction, like law of attraction. When you hear people talk about law of attraction, they're always telling you how it's about your dominant vibrational frequency. You're always hearing that you need to energetically align with your manifestation. You need to energetically align, energetically align. And sometimes you're like, but what the fuck does that even mean? How, like, raise your hand if you're like, okay, like, I've heard enough people say it, so I get that that's what I'm supposed to do, but like, how? How do I do that? Hands, hands, hands. Okay. This is something that over the past like decade, I have really landed with. I've really like gotten my own bearing on it. So we're going to do what I did yesterday. I'm going to give you the context. We're going to elaborate on that. I'm going to give you a different way to hopefully look at it. And then we're going to talk about how to identify and shift your emotions very, very quickly in the moment. So, what I need you to understand, and this is what, like, when you get this, when you lock this in, your entire life and every area is going to change. Because where a lot of people struggle with the energetic alignment, where a lot of people struggle with the emotions, and I want you to understand that emotions and energy are simultaneous. Like in my world, you're going to hear me say frequency and feeling, they're the same term. You're going to hear me say energy and emotions, they are the same term. So if you're new here and you're like, if you hear me say energy, I'm also talking about emotions. If you hear me say frequency, I'm also talking about feelings. Understand that they are synonymous in my world. And you'll realize this. But if you're new here, if you're not used to my languaging, if you're not used to my teaching, I just want to preface that. So when we talk about, so today is about emotions, but we're also talking about energy. So understand that, because if emotions are energy in motion, then, and we're living in a quantum world where everything is energetic, your emotions are signaling the energy that you're in. They are signaling your point of attraction. And I want you to realize that while your thoughts are a huge piece of the manifestation puzzle and this whole co-creating life experience, your heart is actually the electromagnetic force field that is creating your aura, that is creating your electronic signature, is really all heart led. So that's why it's so important that we understand that manifestation is a highly mental game. And remember the contradictions from yesterday. Contradictions are how this world works because it's duality. And it isn't just mental work. There is also the energy, there's also the body. And that's why in my world, I teach you guys my psyche manifestation method, because it's mind, body, soul manifesting. And that's how we manifest. So how we are taught to live in the matrix is that we are living in conditional power. What do I mean by that? I mean that when something is happening outside of us, we are responding and reacting to that situation, and we are allowing that situation to have an emotional charge from us. And based on the emotional charge that we have, that shows us and dictates how we show up, the energy we show up in, the mindset we show up in, how we react, how we respond, if we react, if we respond. And conditional power is the thing that is going to fuck you up. Fuck you up in transformation. It's going to fuck you up in manifestation. Because the thing is, and I know you've heard this, and I know you've heard this, but I also know that a lot of people struggle with this. You are creating your own reality. And you are the one that's creating all of it. So what's happening outside of you is a projection of what's going on inside of you. So it is literally you getting stuck in a hamster wheel in this catch-22 if you're trying to change your life and you're trying to manifest a different reality, but if you keep reacting and responding to what's happening outside of you. Because what's happening outside of you is happening because there's something inside of you that's creating it, right? So that means that we have to stop focusing on what's happening on the outside. And here's the thing, like I would say the number one question I get asked, not from my students or my clients so much, because like they've got like the meat of all of my information, but when I am like on TikTok live or when I'm like talking to like the collective, the number one question that people ask me is about someone else. Well, what do I do if this person is saying this? What do I do if my specific person is over here with somebody else? What do I do if I have negative family members around me? What do I do if I'm in a negative work environment? You are wasting your power by asking those questions, honestly. If the question that you have about your reality and about what's going on is asking about someone else, you're wasting your breath. And your ego has you driving and you're sitting in the passenger seat and the ego's just driving you into the drama and trauma, because you can't do anything about what someone else is doing, saying, thinking about their energy. You can't control them. And the more you try and focus on that, the more that you're just giving your power away to that person or those circumstances. The only thing that you can control is you in the moment. And that's the most powerful thing that I need you to understand. Because when you start focusing on you, how you're thinking, how you're feeling, how you're speaking, the energy you're playing into all day long, this is when you actually have control, right? Because you can control you. You can control how you show up in the moment. And the thing is this manifestation game, you guys hear me say this a lot, it's you versus you. So you've got to learn to master you. That is the secret in manifestation, is you mastering you. And that means not only just your thoughts, but it also means your emotions. And so we cannot live in conditional power anymore. Conditional power means that when something good happens outside of me, I feel good. When something bad happens outside of me, I feel bad. And that means that the things in your external world, which are an illusion, have control over you. And that means that you're constantly focusing on the external world, but you're probably not really focusing on your internal world. And I'm going to be honest with you. This work, like I always tell you guys, shadow work is gnarly as fuck. You have to be accountable. So I'm not going to lie to you guys and say that this work is easy. It's truly not. You have to unlearn everything that you've ever learned. You guys hear me say all the time, everything comes with a learning curve. Manifestation and personal development comes with an unlearning curve, because you've been programmed to operate out of alignment in society. So I'm teaching you how to operate in alignment. And so is anyone else that's teaching you manifestation, any other spiritual teachers, any coaches. Like, this is our job. But it's not easy, right? This is something where a lot of people fall into, especially when we talk about today, emotions. A lot of people are like, you've got to be high vibe all the time. You've got to be high vibe all the time. How many people have heard that and you just want to like flip the table? Like, how many times have you heard somebody say, you just got to be high vibe all the time to manifest? And you're like, ah, like I'm a human. Like, I've got emotions. What do you mean I have to be high vibe all the time? And now, side note, if you are an emotional authority in human design like me and 53% of humanity, I truly feel like one of my soul missions is to help y'all with your emotions, because we are taught not to honor our emotions, and we are taught that our emotions are problematic in society. We are taught that we're too emotional, and that we shouldn't make emotional decisions, and that when our emotions are high, our intelligence is low. No, 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 no. No, honey. No, 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 no. What I need you to understand is your emotions are guidance. Your emotions are guiding you to let you know how you feel. When you are driving in your car and the gas light comes on, you might be annoyed because you have to stop and get gas. You might be like, well, the gas prices are too high. Let's not go on that tangent because money mindset. But there might be like a little bit of annoyance because you're like, oh shit, I gotta go get gas. But you're not mad at your car, right? Like, you're not like, how dare you tell me that I need gas? That would be crazy, right? Because you want to drive your car. Driving your car is helpful to you. It's probably even fun because you can blast your radio and like do your own thing. But it's like, you're not getting mad at the car for signaling to you that it's low on gas. You're like, thank you. I don't want to run out of gas. So thank you for showing me that I need to get some gas. I need to fuel up. This is what your emotions are. They are just signaling to you what's going on inside of you. They're signaling to you how much energy you have. They're signaling to you if you're running low, if you're close to empty. And this is why you also have to be taking care of yourself. This is why you need to be getting sleep. This is why you need to be eating a high nutritionally dense diet. This is also why you need to be meditating. Like, there's a lot of things that you need to be doing to take care of the human in manifestation. And here's the thing is, when you take care of your human, it's a lot easier to navigate your emotions. If you're an emotional authority, if you've taken the program Emotional in the membership, I teach you how to navigate the emotional wave and how to ride the wave without capsizing. Now, here's the thing. If you're not an emotional authority in human design, that means that you're highly suggestible to emotionals in your life. So even if you're not an emotional authority, you have a difficult time navigating emotions, because oftentimes the emotions you're feeling aren't inherently yours. They're caused by someone else, someone else's energy, their aura. So this is really about learning, no matter what your authority is in human design, how to navigate your emotions and how to see your emotions as a signal and to guide you. And there's also things that we can do so that way we learn to ride the emotions instead of getting capsized. Think of it like a surfer. The surfer that's really good is just riding the wave, right? That's the idea here, is you need to learn to ride the wave. And the whole concept that you need to be high vibe all the time is bullshit. It's bullshit. Because one of the things that you came here to do as an emotion, as a human, is to experience emotions. That's why we live in a dualistic society. And it's actually very, very rare. We are one of the only planets, we are one of the only places with intelligent life that has as much negativity and polarity than anywhere else in the universe. Like, this has been channeled through multiple people. Bashar talks about this. And so it's like, one of the things that we come here to Earth School to learn is how to navigate our emotions and how to feel emotions like they are a beautiful experience, and how to, again, not take them so seriously, but how to process our emotions and feel them. Now, one thing that I find that the majority of people don't know is that an emotion, a feeling, lasts 90 seconds if you genuinely feel it. How many people knew that? How many people just thought like your emotions just like took you over for a day, a half a day? How many people knew that it's 90 seconds? I know if you're in the membership, I know because I talk about this, but a lot of people don't know this. And where I find a lot of people like really like go wrong with this whole emotional intelligence work is they stay living in conditional power. And then two, they allow their emotions to fucking capsize them. They just go under, and then they just like allow the waves to take them under. Have you ever been in like a wave pool, or have you ever fallen off like doing water skiing or something and you've been pulled under and you're like, ooh, that's where a lot of people stay. They stay in the ooh energy. And that's when they have a difficult time navigating this whole emotional intelligence thing. But I need you to understand, and I need you to know this is scientifically backed, that a feeling lasts 90 seconds if you genuinely feel it. So what that means is we're not doing spiritual bypassing work. I am not telling you to be positive all the time. That's toxic positivity, and it doesn't actually work. Because if you have emotions that you are not processing, if you're repressing or suppressing them, those emotions aren't going anywhere, right? They're living in your energetic body. They're creating and holding you down at a lower frequency because these are denser emotions that are holding you down. Now, what you have to understand is that if you actually feel the emotion in the moment and you're actually able to process that emotion, so what is 90 seconds? A minute and a half. If you notice that you're feeling angry over something, instead of not feeling the anger, because society has taught you that anger is bad, which if you look at the frequency scale of emotions, anger actually isn't that bad of an emotion. And it's actually a lot better than a lot of emotions. So if you notice that you're feeling angry over something, and replace anger or with any emotion, you notice that you're feeling a highly charged emotion, I want you to feel it. Feel the fucking emotion for 90 seconds. You can do it. Like, you can do it. I know that you can. You are a strong person. You have a spiritual warrior like path. Like, that's why you're here. You can do it. So the deal is when an emotion comes up, we're not suppressing it, we're not repressing it, we're feeling it for 90 seconds. And here's the thing, is it might process through faster than that, but we've got to feel it, right? We can't keep running from our emotions. That's step one. We actually have to feel the emotion. We actually have to experience it. Because once we feel the emotion and we experience it and we process it, then we get to say, okay, well, is this how I want to feel? Like, yeah, that made me angry, but do I want to feel anger for the rest of the day? Yes or no? Remember yesterday? Do I want to think this? Yes or no? So it's like we're doing a pattern interrupt. And NLP, it's called a pattern interrupt, when instead of letting your neural pathways in your mind, which because your emotions are your energetic signature, you've got pathways in your body as well. Those are the energy meridians. That's why you hear people do EFT tapping, because they're tapping on the energy meridians. That's why people get acupuncture, because it's the energy meridians. That's why people do Reiki work, and it's the energy meridians. So understand that it's not just your mind that has these energetic encodings, these neural pathways are in your mind, but you also have energy meridians in your body. So when you interrupt the normal state of being, I tell you all that you have a dominant vibrational frequency. And of course, it ranges throughout the day because you're an emotion. You're a human with emotions. I don't know why I keep trying to tell you that you're an emotion, but bear with me. But because you're a human that has emotions, you have a dominant vibrational signature. It's not one thing, but it stays in the same place typically. And when you start doing personal development work, you're normally down here and then you start shifting upwards. This is how you sustainably transform your emotions. It's not about feeling high vibe and then like forcing yourself to feel high vibe and then law of polarity kicks in and then you feel terrible because you're not actually doing any work to shift how you feel on a day-to-day basis. So this is the work of shifting how you feel. And one thing that I also want to mention is that when you start doing this work, when you start doing personal growth work, when you start doing the emotional intelligence work, when you start spiritually ascending, you actually become more aware of the negativity on the planet. You actually have more of an understanding. You can actually sense it more. You can actually see it more. So it's not about becoming so positive that you're just like high vibe all the time. And the work is to get yourself in a state where you can choose to be high vibe. But spiritual bypassing says, I'm just going to feel the high vibe and ignore the emotions. That's not helpful. If you ignored the low gas thing that came on, especially if you're in the winter, you would fucking run out of gas really quickly, right? So it's like not about ignoring the emotions because that's when you'll suppress or repress something and then you blow up on someone else. Like, have you ever pretended like you didn't feel a certain way and then you just kept pretending and then all of a sudden something happened and it probably didn't even fully relate to the person, but you ended up blowing up on them because you just like couldn't hold these emotions in anymore? Raise your hand if you've ever had that. And then you felt bad because you blew up on somebody that like didn't technically do anything and it was probably your close family member or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your husband or your wife, and then you were like, oh shit, well, how am I going to navigate this? Because they didn't really do anything. That was more on me, but here we are. Now they're pissed at me. Now I'm kind of pissed at myself. So this is about understanding that when you're able to have high emotional intelligence, when you're able to see the negativity that's happening, when you're able to process your emotions, you're consciously choosing how you feel. And if we're only ever manifesting from this moment right here, then what matters the most is how we're feeling and thinking in this moment right here, right? So what we're doing is you're now going to become conscious. Just like yesterday, it was become conscious, notice the thought. Today is become conscious, notice the feeling. So what is the feeling that's coming up? Feel it for 90 seconds. Feel the feeling. And then I want you to ask yourself, do I want to feel this feeling all day long? Yes or no? Yes or no? And here's the thing is like sometimes, like especially if you're a woman and you have your cycle, like sometimes you might be like, you know what? I do actually want to lay in my pajamas and I do want to like binge some like sad movies or like a dramatic TV show and just kind of like eat some ice cream on the couch. There are times for that. Absolutely. But what I need you to understand is we are not sitting on the couch and like wallowing and feeling depressed and feeling angsty and feeling like life isn't working out for us for an entire day. We're consciously processing that depressed feeling and then we're choosing to give our body what it needs, and that's some rest. And if watching sad movies feels good to you, then you're not doing it to feel sad. You're doing it because you want to cry to release some energy or whatever it is. Do you understand what I'm saying there? Do you understand how it's processing the emotions and then deciding? And then you're deciding how you're feeling. So then you're not guilt tripping yourself for watching TV on the couch. You're like, I'm giving myself what I need. So you actually get to like give yourself permission to binge, but we're also not going to binge for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, do you hear me on that? Like we're processing, we're doing what our body needs, and our body is where our emotions live. So we're also tending to our emotional needs. And we're always conscious of how we're feeling, and we're consciously noticing what our body is calling us to do and realizing that if this is not an emotion we want to keep feeling, we don't have to feel it. So the mastery of this dualistic experience is being able to witness the negativity, but not feeding into it. Being able to process the emotions, but not allowing the emotions to rule us. It's saying, I am the one in charge here, and I notice this emotion's come up. So I'm going to honestly look at it. Why is that emotion coming up? Is it because of an experience? Is it because of, now you're going to play? No, we're not doing this. I should have taken that toy away. So it's about, Ghost, I'm gonna need you to lay down. You're normally my good one. You're normally the good one. Go lay down. It's about noticing how you're feeling and consciously choosing how you're desiring to feel. So this means we're no longer living in circumstantial power. We're no longer operating from circumstantial power. We are operating in non-circumstantial power, unconditional power. You'll hear me use those terms back and forth. In my manifestation book, I am writing about this because this is a conversation that is a conversation a lot of people don't have with you guys. Like, I had to pay, you don't even want to know how much money I had to pay to be in conversations like this where this depth was there. But there was so much depth in the conversation, but they didn't give you any tools to shift this. So living in unconditional power means that you're noticing what's happening outside of you. You're extracting the wisdom. You're looking at how you're feeling. You're looking at the thoughts that are coming up, but you're always consciously choosing. Is this the thought that I want to think? Yes or no? Is this a feeling that I want to feel all day long? Yes or no? And so it's like, when we ask ourselves yes or no, it takes us back into this present moment, because how are we conscious in the present moment? That's when we're conscious. That's the only time we can really shift what's happening, is by being conscious. Ghost, can you please lay down? No, go lay down. You're going to go on timeout with your sister. Welcome to my life as a dog mom. But so what I need you to understand is there's going to be negative people out there. Like, I would argue that we've probably shifted to 80% of the population isn't doing the work and 20% is. Whereas I feel like for a long time, it was like 90% of the world wasn't doing the work. They were still in the matrix, and 10% are. But I really think that I know that we are the generation that's here to shift that paradigm, because we're here to birth the 4D. Like, we've been living in this 3D dimension where everything is so matter of fact, where there's a lot of negativity, where there's a lot of oppression, where there's a lot of chaos. But we don't have to allow the chaos. We don't have to feed into it, right? So just like with our thoughts, we're feeding into a thought, we're also feeding into emotions. So when you hear me say, I said it yesterday and I say it all the time, that when you start doing this work, you need to put your blinders on. And you might be like, I get what she means, but I don't fully get it, because I've heard her say it so much that I know that this is important, but I might not like fully land in it. So I say this all the time, maybe because my first job was in a horse barn, maybe because my family goes to and has always gone to a horse racing track that's nearby. I have not gone in years. I do not support animal cruelty. You guys know I use cruelty-free makeup. I don't eat animals. Like, I'm not there for that. But I think that term really like stuck with me because of my upbringing. Now, if you've ever gone to a racetrack, if you've ever watched a track, if you've ever seen like horses and jockeys, if you've ever seen it, you've witnessed that there's a line of horses. They're all in these gates. They have these blinders on. The jockeys have their goggles on. And one, because they want to protect their eyes too. And two, because they need to not pay attention to everything else that's going on outside of them. So when the horses line up, say there's 10 horses, right? They're all in these stalls. They're at the starting line. And then the whistle is drawn, the flag is drawn. That's why like the background of the glow up was a flag, if you guys didn't notice. So the flag is drawn, right? And when that happens, it's not like the other horses don't know that there's other horses on the racetrack. They can hear them, they can feel them, they can hear the jockeys, they can hear the whips going, they can hear it. And if they focused on the other horses, if another horse fell, if a jockey fell, if something happened at the racetrack, if there was commotion in the stadium or whatever, they wouldn't be focusing on where they're going, right? And it's like, I am aware that there are 9 other horses on this track with me, and I'm not paying attention to them. I know that they're there, so I'm not ignorant towards the fact that, like, I don't think I'm the only horse on the track. I see them, like I've seen them. I saw them in the starting line, but now that we've started, My eyes are facing forward. I almost can't see them now because I've got blinders on, right? So it's not about ignoring. Like you'll hear a lot of people say just ignore the 3D. It's not about ignoring because we're processing and learning lessons and we're looking at things that are inside of us that we need to work through in order to manifest, in order to go through personal growth. So it's not about being ignorant to what's going on outside of you. It's actually the opposite. It's about being really fucking aware that this is what's going on and actively choosing what you're focusing on. So when you hear me say putting your blinders on, that's what I want you to think about. You're focusing on where you're going. It doesn't matter what your husband is saying. It doesn't matter what your wife is saying. It doesn't matter what your girlfriend just did. It doesn't matter what the boyfriend's doing. It doesn't matter what your friends or family or aunt or uncle, like it doesn't matter. What matters is how are you choosing to show up in a world that has negative polarities? How are you choosing to show up when there's an emotionally charged event happening? How are you choosing to show up? Because you're either unconsciously reacting and responding, or you are consciously choosing how you react. Let me know how this is sitting with you. I'm going to take a sip of my tea because my voice is starting to go a little bit. How are you feeling? Does this make sense to you? Do you understand what I mean when I say put your blinders on? Are you like, I get it now. I get that circumstances are happening, so I'm not completely ignoring them, but I am choosing how I respond. I am choosing what I'm focusing on. My manifestation, the person that I desire to be, the way that I desire to feel, the way that I desire to think, that's where I'm going. So my eyesight is there. I know that you're here too, but right now I'm focusing on doing this. I'm focusing on doing me. And it's not selfish. It's selfless because when you show up as a higher version of yourself, when you show up as a better version of yourself who's more confident, when you show up in the energy of this is who I'm deciding to be, you're actually modeling for other people what's possible for them. You're actually showing them, you're acting as a mirror to show them, like, I know that you're living in the matrix, but look at how shiny I am. Look at how much fun I'm having. Look at how good I feel about myself and my life. Like, look at the shit that I'm fucking manifesting. So whether you're indirectly or directly having a conversation about it, one, you're shifting your energetic signature, you're raising your vibration. And that means that you're collectively helping the collective conscious by raising your vibration. And you're showing people what is possible, that it's possible for them to raise their vibration, even in a very chaotic world. Like, you guys, if you're paying attention to the current events right now, if you're paying attention to what's been happening, if you've been paying attention for the last like 4 years, the reason why everything is crumbling before us is because the only way we can build this 4D paradigm and we can really do a collective shift is we cannot pretend that the systemic issues that have always existed aren't there. Like we can't be ignorant to the fact that the hatred, the bigotry, the racism, the oppression, like we can't be ignorant towards that. We actually have to be aware of it and then be able to still show up as a loving and compassionate entity, even when that's happening, to show up in a heart-centered space. So that way we are actually showing others how to show up from that space instead of letting the hatred, the negativity, and instead of letting us just go into like this nihilistic view. It's about, I see this and I know that it's happening for a reason. And if I'm choosing to see this with the highest intentionality, if I'm choosing to extract the wisdom out of this, I know that this is happening for a reason for us collectively. I might not fully get it now. That's not to say that this isn't painful, especially if you're empathic. Like, you can feel what's going on in the world right now. It feels dense. And we came here to master duality. And the way that you master duality is by going through the density and still ascending through it, right? So I'm going to drink my tea and then I'm just holding it. Yes, I feel like my emotions are often based on other people's emotions, actions. Exactly. And that would be unconditional power. And there's nothing like, and this isn't a shame or blame game, that doesn't get us anywhere. This is about noticing where we're at so we can actually clean it up, right? So it's like, okay, I am noticing, I am self-aware enough to notice that my emotions are often based off of other people, situations, what's happening. So we're going to talk about that a little deeper too. Learn to unlearn to relearn. Exactly, exactly, exactly. I love the horse track image. Isn't it so good? I told you guys yesterday that I'm going to give you imagery so that way you can lock in a concept that might not feel so tangible to your head just because it's such a different way of thinking about life, of approaching life. But when you're able to take the context and then put an imagery with it so you could like actually land it in your body and then you have the tools to apply it, boom. That's why my clients and my students, like, they fucking hit the ground running because I'm not wasting your time. Like, I'm showing you and talking to you about what we need to talk about so that way you have an understanding and then an imagery to lock it in and then the tools to actually change it. So that way you can witness it, you can notice it, and then you can decide how you're going to show up regardless. Yes, makes sense. Sometimes it feels like I'm reacting and operating on autopilot and not thinking things through, but this definitely helped. Exactly. And that's where a lot of us are. So something that I tell my clients and my students is that I want you to learn to pause and pivot. So if we are able to be in an experience, if we're able to be around something that might trigger us, but we're actually able to pause instead of reacting right away, instead of responding right away, instead of just like going into, instead of meeting the thing that happened in the same energy that it, like in the same emotion that it reacted and responded from us, if we actually look at it for a moment and say, okay, wait a minute, let me pause, let me decide like what's coming up for me. What are the thoughts? What are the feelings? And like, is this actually how I want to show up? Is this actually how I want to feel? Is responding in this way going to help the problem or just continue to cycle it? The thing is, we get stuck in problem frequency when we are reacting and responding from the same emotional state. And the problem is, it doesn't matter how much personal development work if we're doing, if we can't actually navigate it when we're out in the world, right? And this is where a lot of people struggle with personal growth, with manifestation, is they can do the visualization, they can write the affirmations, they can do whatever they need to do to get their energy right in the morning and at night, which is something that I recommend. But it's like, if you can't actually navigate your thoughts, your emotions, your self-concept, the universal laws while you're out in the world, that's when it's like, maybe for an hour a day, you're showing up in the right intentionality, with the right emotional state, with the right mental state. But then what are you out and about in the day, like for 10 hours a day? If you're showing up in a different energy at morning and night, but you can't like anchor into that energy during the day, that's when manifestation and personal growth feels really exhausting, because it feels like we're doing all this work, but then throughout the day, we're still reacting and responding in a way that we don't want to be responding. So I know yesterday somebody had a question about money. So I want to give you an example so that way I can show you like, and we can understand how this like really shows up. Now, again, we're always choosing how we feel and respond, but I want you to think about how many of you have said that you wanted to manifest more money in your life, and then you end up getting a bill, an unexpected bill in your email, in your mail. And then, so when you set the intention to manifest the money, you felt really abundant, right? Then you end up getting the bill, you end up, something costs more than it was, your car breaks down, your pet has to go to the vet, something happens, and then you're like, what the hell? Like, I just want to manifest money, but every time I try to manifest money, I'm getting like the opposite of that. So I always use the example of, if you say that you want to manifest $10,000, and then you say you want to manifest $10,000, you're in the energy of abundance, you're feeling really abundant, you're feeling into this wealth frequency, but then you get a bill in the mail and it's an unexpected $100 bill. If that bill dysregulates your nervous system, if it sends you down the doom spiral in your mind where all of the fear, the lack comes up, then you're actually indicating to the universe that you're not actually able to hold the $10,000. If a fraction of the amount is dysregulating you, that means it feels unsafe to your body. And if it feels unsafe to your body, you're not going to be able to manifest it, not because the universe is testing you, but the universe is responding to you. You said you wanted to manifest $10,000, and so the universe said, okay, let's see if they can handle circulating 100. Because what is 10,000, like 10 times that, 100 times. Math is not my fucking forte, y'all. So like whatever that math is, if somebody can do math, let me know. But it's like at least 10 times that amount, right? So if you say that you want $10,000, but you can't actually handle moving $100 and that dysregulates your nervous system, that is a clear indication that you wouldn't be able to handle the $10,000. Your nervous system would get so dysregulated. So where a lot of people stay stuck in this lack-based frequency and this lack-based thinking is that they go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like where am I going to get the money? How am I going to pay this? I'm just barely scraping by. I don't have the money to pay what I already need to. I'm already in debt. I have all these bills. Oh my fucking God. Like now I'm not going to be able to eat. Now I'm not going to be able to pay my electric bill. How many of you have been there where you say you want the 10K, then the bill comes and you freak the fuck out? Now, again, we're not blaming or shaming. We have to know where we're at in order to like actually do this emotional intelligence work, to actually shift energetically. So now here's the thing that I want you to understand. When that bill came in, you had a choice. You had a and you started to feel scared. You started to feel your heart racing. You felt the pit in your stomach. You felt that maybe you were sweating a little bit. You felt that you were starting to like cycle out. When you don't feel grounded in your body, and it can manifest in physical symptoms in a bunch of different ways. And you'll know for you, like what fear really, like how it lands in your body, especially it's normally the same when it comes to like one topic, love, money, you know what I mean? Like it's typically the same reaction we're going to have. So instead of freaking the fuck out and just going down that doom spiral of panic and lack, you could instead notice the bill came in and say, you know what? I'm feeling this fear right now. I'm feeling this lack. I'm feeling this I don't have enoughness. I'm feeling this in my body. Now, I know that if I just feel this feeling for 90 seconds, I can then consciously decide how I'm going to feel and how I'm going to move through this. So it's not about ignoring your circumstances. It's about using your circumstances to extract the wisdom, to notice where you are, to notice if you're in alignment or out of alignment with the manifestation that you're calling in, and then doing the work, right? So yesterday when I was asked the question of like, but what about the feelings? What about when the feeling comes up? So it's about noticing the feeling, right? Something happens, we react. And if we are unconscious, we react, we respond, blah, blah, blah. But what if you become conscious, you notice the feeling, you feel the feeling, and then you decide how you want to think and how you want to feel? So what's also available to you in that moment is you saying, isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? I said I wanted to manifest $10,000. I said that I wanted to be financially free. I said that I was ready. And then this bill comes in and it actually shows me that like there's something inside of me that like is not really where it needs to be. Isn't that funny? Well, you know what? I know that, and you will know after this, and we'll know how to do it. You'll know that when the feeling comes up, you process it. But if it's a deep fear, if it's something that dysregulates you, this is when the pause is you're going to do a nervous system regulation technique. So you notice that you're feeling the fear, you notice that you're feeling the anxiety, you notice that a feeling comes up, you process through it, you feel it, and then you go, okay. And this is the number one, there's a bunch of nervous system regulation techniques that you can do. Number one that I always recommend is breath work, because it doesn't matter where you're at, whether you're driving your car, whether you're at work, whether you're at home, whether you're in the supermarket, whether you're around people by yourself, it doesn't matter. But if you are able to feel the emotion, not let it spiral your thoughts out, just like genuinely stay in your body, feel the emotion, don't run from it, don't freak out, just feel it, and then breathe through it. So you feel the fear, you feel the anxiety, whatever it is, and you breathe through it. If you take a few deep breaths, even for 30 seconds, maybe a minute and a half, to really just like connect with your body, you're also moving energy through your body when you're breathing, right? And so it's like, instead of feeling it and contracting energetically, you're now consciously choosing to process that emotion by feeling it and then breathing through it to release that emotion out of our body. Because the problem is, if we don't ever release that emotion, that is our emotional response. Just like we have a conscious or unconscious thought response, we also have a response in our body. And remember, your subconscious mind doesn't just live in your mind, it lives in your body. And the vagus nerve is the largest nerve in your body that regulates your nervous system. Your vagus nerve is what connects your mind and your gut. There's a gut brain connection. And that's why I always tell you, like, we need to also have healthy habits and take care of this human body, because that's how we're able to do the mental work. That's how we're able to do the emotional work. That's how we're able to set ourselves up for success, right? So you feel the fear, you feel the anxiety, whatever it is, and you breathe through it. You take intentional breaths instead of escaping into our head where we just go through these spirals and we start freaking out. You say, you know what? I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm going to feel this and I'm going to breathe through it. I'm just going to breathe. I'm going to take, it doesn't matter how many breaths I take, but I'm going to take a deep breath in, and then I'm going to take a deep breath out. And I'm going to choose while I'm breathing out to think the word release. I'm releasing this emotion. I'm releasing it. I feel you. I'm not ignoring you. I feel that you're there. I know that you came from past experiences. I know that you were programmed into me when I was a child. I know that you're there. I'm not ignoring you. And I'm choosing to love you by breathing through this and releasing you. Because while you're an indication of where I've been, you're also preventing me from getting where I desire to go. So if you're able to notice the feeling, process the feeling, and then regulate yourself, you then have the ability to no longer meet the thing that happened in the same energetic response that was caused. This is emotional intelligence work. And when you are able to notice the feeling, process the feeling, regulate yourself, then you consciously get to decide, what energy am I going to show up in? What thoughts am I going to think? So in the money example, you freak the fuck out, you notice it, so you process it, you feel it, you take a few deep breaths, and then you go, you know what? I can actually kind of laugh at this. I said I wanted to manifest $10,000. I just got $100 bill that I wasn't expecting. But I'm choosing to believe that money is an unlimited resource. I'm choosing to know that energy can't be destroyed. I'm choosing to believe that circulating this $100 is just showing the universe and showing myself that I'm actually able to move money. I'm actually able to stay in an abundant mindset. I'm actually able to stay in an abundant frequency, so that way I can take action from abundance. So that means that somebody that's wealthy, they wouldn't freak out over $100 bill. They would either put it in a pile with their bills that they know that they pay on a certain day, or they would go right away and they would just pay it, trusting and knowing that money needs to be circulated. So that money is going to come back to me. And of course, if I'm asking for more money to come in, I also need to be able to circulate it out, right? Now we can use this situation with love. You can, with anything, right? You say you want to manifest a specific person, you meet somebody, you text them, maybe you went on a date the night before and you had a great date. You text them in the morning, they don't text you back. It's been 3 hours. You can freak the fuck out and think that they ghosted you, or you could take some deep breaths, notice that you're feeling abandonment, notice that you're feeling anxious, whatever it is, and then decide, you know what? They didn't text me back because they're in a meeting right now. They've just been super busy. They were running late this morning. They just haven't had time to look at their phone. And as soon as they get out of the meeting, they're going to text me. Do you see how in every moment you have an opportunity of how you're showing up? You have an opportunity of how you're feeling. You have an opportunity to decide the thoughts that you're thinking. This is emotional intelligence work. And this is what we're all telling you when we say you need to energetically align. And we're going to go deeper on like being the version of yourself who has already normalized this in day 5 when we do the self-concept work. But understand how, like, if we zoom out for a minute, understand how a person who's secure with money and a wealthy person would react and respond in a situation that was losing money or taking money from them, quote unquote. Understand how a person who is in a secure, loving relationship with themselves and somebody else, how would they react and respond? It's all going to come together. But when we focus in, I want you guys to let me know, does that like give you some solace? Are you like, oh, I get it now? Like that's actually a tangible process that you can do. So now you know everything outside of me isn't going to go gravy, gravy, gravy. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Gucci all the time. That's not what it is. We're not living in some like alternate universe where nothing fucking goes wrong. You're still going to stub your toe. You're still going to spill shit on your shirt. You're still going to like have bills. Like, they exist. You know what I mean? It's not about ignoring the existence of those things. It's about being able to consciously decide how you're going to show up no matter what's happening. No matter what. That is like when I talk about unconditional power, no matter what. You're not giving your power away to money. You're not giving your power away to the specific person. You're not giving your power away to the boss, to your family, to the person that you're married to your children, whoever it is. You're not giving your power away, because if you're always extracting the wisdom, choosing to realize that you're always winning, you're either getting the manifestation or you are becoming the person that you need to be so that way you can get the manifestation. So you're not going to react and respond. And of course, you're still human. So sometimes you might show up out of character, have grace with yourself, understand that this is a learning process. And when you're conscious, that's when you get to decide to pause, and then you get to pivot if you are not in the right energy and not in the right mindset initially. Because the thing is the universe is responding to the dominant vibrational frequency. And where people really struggle with manifestation and when it seems like it's not working or it's taking a long time is those are the people that are reacting and responding in the exact opposite energy and the exact opposite emotion that they actually desire to be in. So the universe is never testing you. It's always just giving you an opportunity to show up as the version of you that you're saying you want to be. Do you get that? Do you get that now? Because like, I feel like I'm going to scream from the rooftops until I am fucking 77 that the universe isn't testing you. The universe is not testing you. And I would actually scream right now if my voice, well, not like screaming you guys, but I would say it louder if I wasn't already like a loud person and if my voice could handle it. The universe is not testing you. The universe is not testing you. The universe is not testing you. The universe is always responding to you. And here's the thing is if you're like, wah! Because you're reacting and responding to everything outside of you, you're no longer in leading energy. You're in responding energy. And that's when you're like, oh, and you feel like you've got to binge out on Netflix for an entire weekend. You feel like you got to drink because nothing's working out. You feel like you're going to get depressed and disappointed and agitated and blah, blah, because you're allowing the external world to dictate how you think, how you move, and how you feel. And the work is to be living in this world, to be witnessing the beautiful experience, the emotional experience of being a human, and deciding. Consciousness is always the number one thing in manifestation. And that's what I always teach you guys. When you're conscious, that's when you can actually clean up your subconscious in the moment. And yes, sometimes like if there's been trauma in some area or things like that, like there's also sometimes where just like yesterday, like we might have to do a little bit more work. And if you don't keep re-traumatizing yourself by feeling the same emotions, you're actually now going to change, like when we compound yesterday's work and today's work, you're changing your thoughts in the area, in the subject, and now you're changing your emotions in the area and in the subject. And because your thoughts and your emotions are creating your vibrational frequency, when you change both your thoughts and your emotions, and you keep choosing consciously, you don't show up as this version of you anymore, who's reactive, who's responding to everything, who's always just like feeling all of these emotions and feeling the chaos, because you're consciously choosing how you think. You're consciously choosing how you feel. And when you don't play on this side of the street anymore, when you clean up your side of the street, so you're only playing on this side, it doesn't mean that life is fucking peachy. It doesn't mean that everything goes your way. It means that you consciously decide if the things that are happening outside of you are actually going to get your attention, if they're actually going to get your energy, if it's going to change who you are. And this is what self-mastery is. It's understanding that other people exist. It's understanding that there are things outside of your control, all the people and all the things, but the only thing you have control over is you. So are you actually controlling yourself though? That's the question. Are you controlling yourself, or are you letting other people pull you on a string like you're a puppet? Because once you realize that you don't have to be a puppet to anyone or anything, but you've got to be the one that cuts those cords, right? Because you're going to be a puppet to your unconscious thoughts and your unconscious beliefs and how your nervous system is regulated. But you can always decide, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I know how to move my fucking arm. I know how to move my foot. Like, I don't need you to pull me around anymore. I'm a big girl. I'm a big boy. And I'm going to decide how I get to show up. I'm going to decide the person that I get to be. I'm building me day in and day out. And that's what we'll get into a lot on day 5. But how is that landing for you? Do you guys like understand that in a way that you're like, I fucking feel like I know how to do this now. I feel empowered over my emotions instead of just feeling like I am constantly reacting and responding to my emotions. Do you feel that? Does that like feel a shift in you? Wow, that totally makes sense about the money and nervous system. Exactly. And that's how it could be. It's money and love are the two most triggering topics that you've been the most programmed towards. So there's going to be a nervous system response until you've done the nervous system regulation work. Now, nervous system regulation, breath work is what I always recommend because you can do it in the moment. But you can also do EFT tapping. And if you're in the membership, there's already some EFT tapping. I'm going to be recording a bunch more EFT tapping videos for you. So for specific topics. So those more EFT videos are coming. So there's other things that you can do though. You can go outside for a walk. Do not take your phone with you. Don't put your headphones on. Like don't have your AirPods in your ear. Get out in nature. Get your circadian rhythm back in alignment. Breathe fresh air. Notice the nature. Look at the trees. Connect with them. You can exercise. You can do a cold plunge, and if you're not ready to do a full cold plunge, you can even just like plunge your face in ice water. My favorite way to do this is an ice roller. The Skinny Confidential, this is not a plug. Well, it's a plug, but not affiliated. The Skinny Confidential cold roller is like my favorite thing in the world. I do it every morning, so that way I regulate my nervous system. So there's things that you can do. EFT tapping, hypnosis will help you regulate your nervous system. There's a meditation will help you. Yoga will help you. Exercising will help you. Getting outside will help you. So these are things that you can do during the day, but we have to notice the feelings, right? In order to know where we need to work through. We need to notice the feeling, notice where the dysregulation is, and then we've got to move through it. Oh my gosh, cyclic breathing helps so much with this. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I'm so happy. My family thinks I'm crazy when I decide best case scenario thoughts. Literally look at me like I'm crazy, but that's okay. I'm the leading energy, and this is teaching me to hold my power regardless. Exactly. Because everyone in our life and every experience that we're going through, they're all just teaching us. They're all teachers. And when you realize that they're just teachers and they're just showing you how to master yourself in every moment and every experience, then you're not like even entertaining the reaction or the negativity or the response. Like it's almost like you've got this bubble around you, and it's your aura, fun fact, but you've got this bubble around you where you're like, no, I'm actually good. Because even if something happens that isn't how I desire it to go, I know that it's happening for a reason. I know that there's a lesson that I need to learn there. I know that I'm breaking some pattern. I know that this is happening for me. So I'm good. Because if something happens that doesn't look quote unquote like I want it to, doesn't feel quote unquote like I want it to, I get to extract the wisdom. I get to remain conscious, and I get to decide how I feel. I get to decide how I move. And when I stay in my power and I consciously decide, that is when I've mastered myself. I've mastered my mindset. I've mastered my emotional intelligence. And then I've mastered my dominant vibrational frequency. Do you see that? Do you get that? How like, yes, we're talking about energetics. Yes, we're talking about emotions, these ethereal things. But do you see how when you apply it with tangible tools, it's like, oh shit, I've got this. Like, I know how to work through this. I know how to process this. And I can actually now handle anything that comes my way because, like, I'm good. I've got me. And I know if my nervous system is super dysregulated, I've got the tools that I know how to work through. And I can either plug into a resource, I can log into the membership, I can work with a coach, I can do it on my own, like whatever it is. But I know the things that I need to do so that way I can actually shift my emotional state. And when I shift my emotional state, I stay in my power. Tips for mid-conversation if you don't have time to do regulation techniques, but feel unregulated, reactive, and need to respond to someone. So, one, you always have time for at least one breath, right? So what I would say is if you can feel someone's energy. And I would say this is only really important if you're having a face-to-face conversation, right? Because if it's over a text message, if it's over an email, if it's not face-to-face, then you can take a fucking minute, right? But when it's face-to-face, one, you can feel someone's energy when they're coming up. You kind of like, you have like your intuition kind of knows like which way this is going. So you can just prepare yourself by taking a few deep breaths, understanding that this person is coming at me in an emotional state that feels highly charged. So I'm not going to meet them at the beginning of this conversation in that same emotionally charged energy. I'm actually going to stay neutral and realize that a lot of times when people are having a conversation like that too, like it's about them, not you, right? So it's like having compassion for that person and understanding why they're so emotionally charged, but also consciously choosing for yourself and for that person to model what it's like to have a healthy response, to model what it's like to not let things be taking your control. But it's like, if somebody comes up to you and they're super emotionally charged, say it's like a work thing, and they're like, la, 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 this didn't go right, and now like we have a half an hour till this project and blah, blah, blah. So it's like, okay, then if this is happening and it's a time crunch, we need to come up with a solution, right? It doesn't help either of us to get stuck in a problem frequency, to get stuck in a reactive response. It's about, we need to find a solution. So take a deep breath and say, okay, and set the tone, right? Understand that your first response sets the tone for the relationship. And you can actually de-escalate the conversation in the situation just by you taking a few deep breaths while they're talking. And then you consciously choosing your words and choosing your tone and choosing the physical response in your body, right? Because our bodies are often signaling a lot more than what's actually coming out. So then it's like, okay, well, we've got this. So what can we do? So what can we do about this? You can always ask an empowering question. You can always set the tone by how you're reacting, how you're responding, by not playing into that. If it's family dynamics and it's something is getting heated, then it's like, okay, well, what if it wasn't such a big deal? Like, what if we didn't take it so seriously? You know what I mean? Like, you could always crack a joke if it's appropriate. You could always change the conversation. You could always say, you know what? I actually need some time to sit with this. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you just yet, but I'll come back to that. Let's circle back. You can always decide, like, just because somebody else is trying to have a conversation with you right now, typically that conversation is not dire. It doesn't need to happen in that moment, right? So it's like, you get to decide, does that conversation happen right now? Do you change the subject? Do you not engage with it? Do you realize that it's something that that person needs to work through? Do you crack a joke? Do you respond in more neutrality? Do you point it back to them? Do you put the ball back in their court by asking an empowering question for them to like get out of their problematic state? But it's like, you can't see somebody charging up to you and then like go into like this bull stance where it's like, you're not gonna fucking knock me over. You know what I mean? Because now you're both showing up in this energy of like, we're gonna duke it out, and that doesn't help. And a lot of the times, again, we can't control how somebody's coming up to you, but you can absolutely control the energy and the mindset that you're in. And that's why, of course, like have a morning routine that gets you in your energy. Make sure you're getting in your energy throughout the day. Make sure you're noticing when you're shifting back. So you're never going to have a conversation with somebody when you're emotionally low. And you can always decide, like, even if it's your husband tries to talk to you about something and maybe it's serious because it's about like your children's school or something. You could always say, you know what, honey, I've had a really long day and I'm feeling a little emotionally drained right now. So I know that this is an important conversation, but could we talk about this tomorrow when I've got some more energy? You know what I mean? If it's work, you can always say, you know what? I think that we should just take some time to sit and to not brainwash, what is it? Brain dump about this and like come up with some ideas, but like let's circle back on this. Like you can always decide how. And if you're not in the emotion to have the conversation, if you don't have the energy to have the conversation, then you get to like, you're not like you're ignoring the person, but you're just telling them like where you're at and saying, you know what, like, let's do this. And then like, let's come back. Or like you're explaining to the person what you need. You know what? I'm actually like, I know that this is important, but I actually have to be somewhere in half an hour and I can't be late. So why don't you send me an email about this? Why don't you send me a text about this? And later on today, we'll have a conversation. I'll give you a response. You know what I mean? Like if you are emotionally drained, if you're lacking time, if you're feeling like emotionally pulled, you can come back to the conversation. You can, exactly. And that's boundaries. Practice them based on prior experiences to have ways to respond in the moment. Exactly. And when you're teaching yourself that you're no longer going to respond from this highly charged emotional place, this highly charged energetic space, you're actually able to have a different perspective. You're able to meet that person in a different energy, and you're actually both going to benefit because then you'll be able to see solutions. Then you'll be able to work through it. Then you'll be able to show other people that, like, maybe when you get an email that like pisses you off, or maybe when something happens and you like get all stressed out, maybe the first thing you don't do is run up to somebody else. Maybe you actually like get yourself centered. Look at like, where is the stress coming from? Where is the emotion coming from? And here's the thing, right? Like not everybody's going to do emotional intelligence work, but just because somebody else isn't doing emotional intelligence work doesn't mean that we're using that as a scapegoat for us not doing the work. So you can't blame the fact that somebody else came up to you in some type of energy, because you always have the authority to pause the conversation, to shift the conversation, to not engage in the conversation at all if it's really just something that they're not processing through and they need to work through, but it like actually doesn't affect you. Do you see what I mean? Like a lot of the times we meet people in the energy that they're in, and it's like the conversation didn't even need to happen at that time. Like there wasn't like something that needed to happen in that moment. It wasn't life or death. And by the fact that we rushed it, by the fact that we were energetically drained, by the fact that we were emotionally charged, we're actually probably going to have like a disagreement, and we're not going to come to a solution. We're actually probably not going to have a conducive conversation. We're probably actually not going to show up in like the best energy for either of us or the situation that we're talking about, and the situation at hand, the circumstance, like whatever it is. You know what I mean? So it's like you've always got to check in with yourself and where you're at, and notice that like just because somebody else is coming up to you in the certain energy, you're not going to meet them there. I always say to my clients and my students, I model what it's like to have high standards and high boundaries for myself, and I'm never going to drop them to meet you where you're at. I'm always going to model them and hold them, and then I will absolutely help you to get up here or to get higher up and start doing the work to help yourself. But I'm never going to meet you down here because that's not helping either of us. I'm always going to stay up here. And if I notice that for whatever reason, I'm feeling sick, I didn't get enough sleep, I'm stressed out about something that else is going on in my life, like if something is affecting me, so that way I notice that my standards, my energetic standards, when I've noticed that my boundaries have slipped a little bit, I know that this is not the time for me to be in conversation with anyone because I'm slacking on giving myself something that I need. So, I'm not ignoring people, but I'm coming up with a solution in the moment to realize, oh, wait a minute. I'm not in the right mindset. I'm not in the right energy. I'm not in the right emotional state to actually have this conversation right now. So, I'm going to, if it's something that doesn't need to be responded to right away, I'm not going to respond. And I'm going to respond when I'm in the right space, when I've given myself what I needed. Or I'm going to tell you, like, we got to circle back. You know what I mean? And the thing is like, if you're not dismissive, if you're not blaming someone else, if you're not adding fuel to the fire, if you're just very calm and regulated and you just say, you know what, like I really didn't get a lot of sleep last night. And so I'm just kind of like a little struggling today. So do you mind if I just like sit with this and come back to you in like an hour? Like, and I'll have an answer for you. Do you see how you're not ignoring someone? You're actually explaining to the person where you're at and learning how to communicate your emotional needs. So that way you're able to show up in your best possible energy. And I teach you this in emotional, if you're in the membership, if this is something that seems like this is where you want to like start doing some work, you notice that you're struggling in this area, go watch emotional and do the emotional homework. On top of this, I want to say emotional is 2.5 hours long. So you might not sit through the whole thing today, but just know that that's like, I go very deeply into this. I teach you how to have a 24-hour buffer period before you commit to anything. I teach you how to understand where you're at emotionally and then how to communicate your emotional needs. Because I'm telling you, when you learn how to communicate your emotional needs to someone in a very neutral and calm place, then you're taking authority over the conversation and you're saying, you know what, like, this is where I'm at right now. This is what I need from you. And I hear that you are needing something from me and I'm not dismissing you, but I'm going to have an answer for you in a few hours. I'm going to meet you back so we can have this conversation later on today. Can we schedule a meeting? Even if it's your husband, right? Like, can we schedule to like talk about this? Like, this morning isn't the best. I've got a big meeting that I've got to go to at work. Can we circle back and like at 7 p.m. tonight, we'll set some time apart after dinner and we'll talk about this. You know what I mean? No one is ever going to get upset with you over that because they're actually going to realize, whether they directly or indirectly like notice it and say something, they're going to say, oh, you know what? When so-and-so communicates with me what they need and they don't leave me hanging, like they tell me like I've got a time frame, they tell me what I need, then actually they show up in a way better energy. We actually like get right to the root of it. We get through the solutions. We work through it quickly. They're in a lot better energy place. Like if it's someone you're married to and you live with, like they actually like are a lot easier to be around when they tell me that this is what they need from me and I just honor their boundaries. And then we have that conversation the next day later on, whatever it is. And they're going to be like, you know what? This actually works so much better for us in our relationship and having these conversations and our dynamic. So it's not only helping you, it's helping them, it's helping the situation. And you're modeling what it's like to have healthy boundaries. You're modeling what it's like to be able to check in with your energy before you react, respond, have the conversation. And half the time you're going to notice like somebody put a time frame on it because they were ungrounded and they started stressing out about something. But like more than half of the time, it doesn't need immediate attention. And half the time it'll get figured out without you having that conversation. You know what I mean? But if you don't take that time, if you react, if you respond, if you engage reactively out of character, then it's actually going to make it worse and you're going to have some cleaning up to do, right? Do you see how it would cause so much more energy and emotions for you to respond in that moment rather than taking a few minutes to just like pause and come from a really neutral space and be able to navigate the situation and the conversation that way? All right, so we're coming up on an hour and a half. So if you guys have any questions, any further questions, drop them in because I'll give you a few minutes to do that. And then I'm going to just tell you what the homework is. And of course, it will drop in because I did actually hit the record button today. Cannot believe I was on phone with technical support. I'm realizing what I didn't do. Because I actually did hit the record button today. This will be able to get posted a lot faster in the group. So if you made it late, if you want to come back to this, whatever it is, this should be posted within an hour, 2 hours. Yesterday was like 3 hours just because I didn't hit record. But anyway, there's always a workaround, right? Like that's the thing. I didn't hit record and fucking panic. It was like, all right, well, I recorded on TikTok, so it's just gonna take some time. But we got through the damn thing, right? Like somebody could have freaked the fuck out. Oh my God, I can't get this video. How's that gonna help? Like, oh my God, there's over 70 people signed up for this just like in the group. And then there's people that keep coming every single day. It's like, I could have freaked out or I could have been like, we're good. Is it the video that I exactly wanted? No. But is it still me saying the damn thing? Yeah. Just not looking at you. So the homework for tonight is I want you to think about the thing that you're manifesting. And so like the topic, money, love, house, whatever, career, whatever it is. When you think of it, what are the emotions that come up for you? Write it down. Do you feel light? Do you feel excited? Do you feel expansive? Or do you feel dense, fear, anxiety? If it's the latter, where are you holding that fear in your body? Tune in. Is it you're short of breath? It's like it's your heart palpitating? Is it that it's the in the pit of your stomach? You have like this gut punch reaction? Like where is it? Because then you're also going to know like what chakra is it affecting, you know what I mean? Like this is like, and the chakras are the energy meridians that is allowing the energy to flow through you. So it's like we've got to get these in check. We've got to realize that manifestation isn't just a mental game, it's mind, body, soul, right? So then I want you to choose to release that emotion. If it's fear, whatever it is, by saying, hold your hand to your heart, I'm choosing to release you fear now. I'm choosing to release this anxiety now. I'm choosing to release this stress now. Because then what is that doing? You're not getting caught up in the emotion. You feel it, you're noticing it, and then you're choosing. So feel it, process it for 90 seconds at most, and then choose to release it. Then you're going to do a nervous system regulation technique, such as breath work, EFT tapping, getting out in nature, a cold plunge, meditation, yoga, working out, whatever feels best for you in the moment, whatever you really like have time for in your day. Remember that don't use the excuse that you don't have time for it though, like that you're somewhere and you can't do it, because you can always breathe. This is why breath work is always the number one thing that I recommend, because there's no excuses. I don't care what your ego says. I don't care what you're trying to tell yourself. You've got time to breathe. You're sitting at work. You can still sit at work and stare at your computer and breathe. No one's going to fucking know. You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to know that you're breathing through. Like, no one is paying that much attention to you. Like, quite honestly, everyone's wrapped up in their own heads that they're going to notice. So then, once you regulate yourself, I can say the list again, but know that this will be posted in the homework for you too. So breathwork practice, EFT tapping, getting out in nature, a cold plunge, meditation, yoga, working out. And again, you don't have to write that all down. It'll be in the it'll be in the replay section for you guys. And like there's also hypnosis, there's also guided meditations, there's also like a bunch of things. If you're in the membership, I give you all of these tools throughout the different programs, and I am going to be adding more. There's going to be a whole section for EFT tapping videos. There's a 3-minute long breathwork practice that if you are in the membership, it's in the self-concept master course. You'll see breathwork practice is one of the sections. So go in there, because Sugar, you are in that. Go in the breathwork practice and listen to that 3-minute breathwork. And that will help you to learn the breathing practice and the breathwork. And I tie my breathwork in with rapid resolutions therapy. So I give you some RRT to do, which I don't tell you, but I give you RRT to do in that breathwork practice. So the way that I do breathwork is really potent, because rapid resolutions therapy is the best and fastest way to heal trauma. Like hands down, period. That's it. End of story. So that's a really great practice that I would recommend you going to if you're like looking for. But there's EFT videos, EFT tapping videos in there. You know how to go in nature, cold plunge, get into cold water, take a cold shower. Really recommend having an ice roller. There's meditations in there. Do yoga, like look up yoga on YouTube or anything. You know what I mean? No excuses. You can find this for free if you're not in the membership. And then once you're regulated, you're going to decide how you desire to feel instead. And then write this down. So now you consciously in your mind know where that fear or where that emotion is living in your body. You know what the emotion is. You know how to process through that emotion and regulate yourself. And now you know what is the desired feeling that you want to feel instead. So now you have a bunch of blueprints for you to guide yourself back when you notice that you've gone dysregulated, when you notice that you're feeding into the emotion that you don't want to. Because remember, your emotions and your thoughts are tied together. So if we have a high emotional state, it's going to be easier for our mental state to be higher. So when we change our physiology, we actually change our mental state instead of having to battle our mindset in our mind, because then we get lost in the maze of our mind that's been programmed to lie to us. But our body can never lie to you. Your body is always living in the present moment, giving you what you need to know. And the thing is if you don't feel the way that you want to feel, it's not about beating yourself up. It's about noticing that there's some regulation that has to occur here. So instead of ignoring it, instead of just like feeding into this, I now know how to move through it. And I'm deciding how I want to feel instead. So now with yesterday, we're choosing the thought that we want to think. Today, we're choosing how we want to feel instead. So this is all happening in the moment, right? And if you're on here and you aren't if you're just catching me on TikTok or if you're catching me on YouTube, just click the link in my bio and join the program. You'll get access to yesterday and the homework. But do you see how these are adding together and we are making effective changes in the moment? Now you know how to deal with your mindset. Now you know how to deal with the emotions. So it's like we do the mental work and we do the emotional work, we put them together. Sometimes you might notice that it's the mental game that you're really needing to work through. And then sometimes you might notice that it's emotional first, but realize that it's both of them together. So it's like, we're going to do whatever we need to do, whether it's just cleaning up the thought because we're not really dysregulated and then clean up the thought. But if we're doing the mindset work and we're feeling really dysregulated, we can't ignore the dysregulation. That would be ignoring the empty gas light or the low fuel light in our car. We're not going to ignore it. We don't want to run out on the side of the road like of gas. We got to pay attention to it. We got to stop and fill our gas up, right? So just like you would stop and fill and put gas in your car, doing the nervous system regulation technique is you filling your cup up, is you filling your emotions up, is you filling your energy up, so that way you can consciously decide how do you want to feel instead. And when you start consciously deciding what you're going to think and how you're going to feel, no matter what's going on outside of you, that's when you start living in unconditional power. And when you live here, that's when you become a master at manifesting, because you've mastered you. You've mastered your mindset. You've mastered your emotions. And while things outside of you can go quote unquote wrong or look like they aren't working out or whatever, you get to assign the meeting. You get to decide that it's still working out for you, and trust that you don't need to know the how. The how's not for you. We'll go into this on day 4 when we talk about manifesting. But the only thing that you're in charge of in this whole manifestation game is you. Get your mindset in check, get your energy in check, and then you get to decide how things are going to go for you, because you've got your blinders on. You know where you're going. You don't need to know exactly how many laps you have to take. You just need to know that this is where you're going. If you've decided that it's manifesting, if you decided that you're going to be this person, if you decided you want to think this way, if you decided you want to feel this way, you are going to, period. So it's just like, do the work to get you in check. And then that way you're actually able to handle the manifestation when it comes in. Because if you don't do the regulation, that's when you're still dysregulated around money, but you're manifesting the money, you manifest the money, and then the bill comes in to take all the money out. That's when you're manifesting the partner and then they ghost you 2 weeks in, because on an energetic and in a physiology place, you weren't actually able to hold it. You weren't able to sustain it because there was still some dysregulation in there. Perfect. Thank you. What thoughts brings up dysregulation? All of the above. Or when the thought brings up dysregulation, all of the above. So when the thought, yes. So like if we're talking about yesterday's work and today's work, so the dysregulation, that's where we're pausing. That's where we're pausing. When we feel dysregulated, we've got to go to the gas store. Why am I, is that what they're called? We got gas station. Whoo! You could tell I need to take more medicine. Jesus. So when the dysregulation comes up, that's when we know we have to go to the gas station. So we're going to pull over. That's our pause and that's our pivot point. So if the dysregulation is there, we're pausing on the mindset work. We're feeling the emotion, and then we're going to do the nervous system regulation technique, because once we process, once we regulate, then we decide how we want to feel, and then we're going to decide the thoughts that we think. Do you see how that works together? So the dysregulation is always going to be, nope, we're going to pull over right now. When I'm feeling dysregulated, even if you're like in the middle of something, we're going to do the breath work for at least 30 seconds just to release some of these emotions out. And know that, you know, sometimes we might be on the go doing something and we can't like fully tend to it, but we can always breathe through it, bring ourselves back into a regulated state. If it's something that's super dysregulated, like love or money, then when we get home and we have some time, we'll do some EFT tapping. We'll do something to work through it. We'll do a hypnosis. We'll do a guided meditation. We'll do some somatic release, like exercise, whatever it is. So understand that the breath work might be all that you need. But just like if there's something that we have a lot of back to the gardening metaphor from yesterday, if there's a lot of weeds that we got to get through, if there's a lot of dysregulation that we got to get through, we've got to just at least get us back into a regulated state. And then sometimes we might need to just dedicate a little more time to doing the regulation. And that's why it's great to have an EFT EFT tapping practice that you do daily or something like that. If you notice it's an area that's really, really charged and there's a lot of dysregulation, but it's always going to be notice the thought or notice the feeling. And then if the dysregulation is there, we're going to stop. We're going to at least breathe through it for now. We're going to come back to it if we need something deeper. We're going to feel it. We're going to get regulated. We're going to decide how we want to feel. And then we're just going to decide what we want to think. Because we can't change the thoughts if the dysregulation is there. We can't ignore the dysregulation. We've got to move through it. Because that density and that dysregulation is always going to prevent us from either getting the manifestation at all, having the manifestation, or keeping the manifestation. So just know that we're working together, but do the whole mental one, the 5 steps, if it's just mental, if there's no dysregulation. And then you can add at the end of that, how do I want to feel? But if there's dysregulation, that's when we're pulling over and we're going to the gas station and we're going to fill up our tank, get ourselves back into a good state. Like we've got the fuel to keep going, and then we're going to choose. But we're always consciously choosing what we're thinking, and we're consciously choosing what we're feeling. All right. So that's all I have for you guys today. Is there any additional questions that you have? Like, how are you feeling? Let me know, is this landing for you now? Do you understand like how to actually do this emotional intelligence work? Do you understand how to actually energetically align? Do you understand how we're not scapegoating? We're not spiritually bypassing? Like, do you get how even when we're talking about these more ethereal concepts, there's always something practical that we can do. There's always something tangible that we can do, because there always is. Yes, I think this is a great lesson. Okay, I'm so glad. I'm getting some hearts. All right, great. I'm so happy this is landing with you. This is what we go really deep into in my membership, AOMU. So if you are brand new here, or if you've been here for a minute, if you're signed up for the class, I sent you guys an email yesterday letting you know that if you want to join the membership, where you get access to all of my programs and all of the nervous system regulation techniques and all of my teachings that walk you through everything that you need to know, you can get in this month for $33 this month. So you'll get instant access to all of my programs. You'll get access to the community. You'll get access to the group coaching calls once a month. And you can either pay annually one time, you can get lifetime access by a one-time payment, or you can pay monthly. And so there's 3 different promo codes. They are listed in the program and they are listed in the emails as long as you're signed up for the program. If you're catching me on TikTok, if you're catching me on YouTube, just click the link in my bio and sign up for the program. It's free. And so if you're feeling really activated by this and you want to keep doing this work, I invite you into the membership. We are a badass group of people that are doing this work. We connect together. We hold a safe space. We really support you we celebrate your wins. We help you through it. Like, it's literally exactly what I wanted when I was doing this work. It gives you the community aspect, but also by you leading yourself through the programs, you're still teaching yourself how to do this work on your own, but you've got a space to plug into. So if this feels really good, and if you're like, these are the conversations that I've been looking for, this is what I really have been needing and desiring, the tools to actually be able to make these shifts day in and day out, then I encourage you to get into the membership, because it's the best thing I've ever created. Like, honestly, because you get everything I've ever created. So I will see you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. EST, 11 a.m. PST, and I will drop this download, or I will download this and I will upload this into the program. So if you came on here late and you need to catch it, or if there's something that you wanted to replay, you'll have access to it. And the homework will be listed in there so that way you can refer back to it. And I'm so, so grateful that you guys are here. I love you guys so much. And I cannot wait to see you tomorrow. And tomorrow you're going to want to be here because we're talking about grounding. And this is a conversation that I literally don't hear anyone having in the manifestation world. And this is how we're really going to tie in the body. We talked about it today through the nervous system regulation, but this is how we're really going to ground our body in so that way we can keep doing this work and really master this dance with dualities. So I love you guys so much. Drop me some DMs. Let me know your breakthroughs that you're having. I love hearing from you, and thank you for being here. I will see you guys tomorrow. Love you. Bye.